It's a strange time in the construction industry. On one hand, we're seeing these incredible, mind-blowing engineering marvels go up. But on the other, a huge number of firms are just struggling, living on razor-thin margins, trying to stay afloat. So what's really going on here? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig right into that paradox. And we're going to see why for so many companies, the biggest threat isn't the market, it's actually the data chaos happening inside their own four walls. Let's get into it.
Okay, first, let's just take a moment and appreciate the scale and the genius that's happening at the very top of the industry right now. It's pretty incredible. We are absolutely living in a new age of building, one that's being defined by projects that just completely push the limits of what we thought was possible with technology and design.
And what's so cool here is just how different these massive projects are. I mean, look at this. You've got the Sphere in Las Vegas, this giant, self-supporting dome that's basically a landmark of engineering entertainment. Then you have something totally different, the Bright Line high-speed rail in Florida, a huge private infrastructure project that's already served over 1 million people in its first year. Then there's the Kew Gardens Interchange in New York, a decade-long, multi-billion-dollar quest to fix one of the most tangled-up crossroads in the entire country. And kind of underpinning everything is this massive boom in AI data centers, which are quickly becoming a critical piece of our modern world.
And when I say boom, I mean a boom. The projections are just staggering. We're looking at nearly $3 trillion being spent globally on AI data center infrastructure by 2029. That's a tidal wave of investment and opportunity, and it creates this amazing, virtuous cycle where smarter construction allows for more powerful AI, which then helps us do even more advanced construction.
So this brings us right back to that central puzzle, right? With all this money flying around, with all these incredible projects at the top end, why does it feel like so many construction companies are just stuck in this constant state of putting out fires, just scrambling to make it to the next job?
Well, the answer lies in this concept that people are starting to call the squeezed middle. And it's this really dangerous, really vulnerable stage for mid-sized firms. They've grown too big and complex for the simple tools they started with, but they're not quite big enough to afford those massive enterprise-level solutions. And this slide just lays out the trap perfectly. On one side, you slam into the small business ceiling. The tools that got you here, QuickBooks, a bunch of Excel spreadsheets, they just break. They completely fall apart when you try to do the sophisticated job costing or financial consolidation that you need when you're running multiple projects. But then, on the other side, you run smack into the enterprise wall. These huge, all-in-one ERP systems, they're just ridiculously expensive. And it's not just the price tag. It's the six-figure implementation fees and the need for a dedicated IT staff you just don't have. You're trapped. So what happens? You're forced to stitch together this Frankenstein tech stack, right? Accounting is in one system, project management is over there, estimating is in some spreadsheet somewhere, and this creates these really dangerous data silos. Your PM in the field and your controller in the office, they're looking at two totally different versions of the truth. And that leads to this constant visibility gap where you're essentially flying blind on your real costs. And that leads directly to those razor-thin 5% profit margins and those awful recurring cash flow crises that keep you reacting instead of leading. Now here's the most important thing to understand. The daily stress, the profits that seem to vanish, that feeling of always being behind, it's not a problem with the market, and it's not a problem with your team's work ethic. The real root cause is the hidden cost of all this internal, operational chaos. And this quote, this just says it all. For these companies in the squeeze middle, the biggest risk isn't about finding the next job. It's this self-inflicted wound. It's the operational drag, this invisible friction that just slows everything down and eats away at your bottom line. And this operational drag, it translates into some really shocking real-world numbers. According to a major report from FMI, construction pros spend 35% of their time on non-productive activities. And we're not talking about coffee breaks here. We're talking about hunting for project information, fixing mistakes, dealing with conflicts, all symptoms of disconnected data. I mean, think about that. For every 3 people on your team, you're basically paying one of them just to chase down information. And when you zoom out and look at that lost productivity across the whole industry, the number's almost hard to comprehend. In a single year, bad data, information that's wrong, that's disorganized, or just not there when you need it, costs the global construction industry $1.8 trillion. So let's just be crystal clear. This isn't a market problem. It's not a tough economy that you have no control over. This chaos, like the slide says, is an internal operational problem. It's a self-inflicted wound. But, and this is the important part, it's a wound that can be healed.
Which of course brings us to the solution. And it's not about just buying another piece of software. It's about a fundamental strategic shift from just collecting data to actually using it to make decisions.
And the key idea here is something called prescriptive analytics. See, most companies are stuck with descriptive analytics, reports that tell you what happened last month. Prescriptive analytics is the final frontier. It takes all your data and it doesn't just predict what might happen, it actually recommends specific actions you should take to get the best possible outcome. So for example, it won't just tell you a project is falling behind schedule. It might suggest the single best way to reallocate 2 specific crews to get back on track with the least amount of cost impact. It answers that crucial question, okay, what should we do right now? And the benefits of doing this are incredibly real. You go from being a reactive firefighter to being in proactive control of your projects. You can actually see potential budget overruns coming and fix them before they blow up. This is exactly how you get back that 1 to 5% of net profit that's currently just vanishing into those hidden inefficiencies. It's like creating margin insurance for your projects, which lets you make faster, way more confident decisions. But making this shift has a much, much bigger payoff. It's not just about making your business better today, it's about getting your company ready for the single biggest technological shift of our lifetime, artificial intelligence. I love this analogy because it's just so perfect. Everybody's excited about AI, right? But they forget the most important part. AI is the engine, sure, but clean, organized, accessible data, that's the fuel. And for most companies stuck in that squeezed middle, their fuel tank is just contaminated. It's full of siloed, messy, disorganized information. And AI simply can't run on that. But once you get your data clean, you can kickstart what's known as the AI data flywheel. You can see how it works. It starts with generating clean data from your projects. That clean data fuels AI models, which then unlock new insights. Those insights lead to better business outcomes, like higher profits. Better outcomes let you scale up your infrastructure, which helps you generate even more clean data. And the whole cycle just starts to spin faster and faster. This is how the best companies are going to build a massive compounding advantage over the next decade. So here's the bottom line. Getting your data house in order isn't a nice-to-have anymore. It's not some luxury IT project you'll get to someday. Data clarity is now the absolute price of admission for the next era of construction. It is the foundation for your company's survival and for its future relevance. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about for your own business, right now, today. Is your data a strategic asset that's pushing you forward, that's giving you a real competitive edge? Or is it a heavy anchor of disconnected spreadsheets and chaotic workflows that's holding you back from where you know you need to be? The answer to that question is going to define your future.